Now can you hear me? Hey, good afternoon, everyone. As you are coming in, please make sure that you complete this bell ringer. So it's asking you how you are going to set up your classroom, or how is your classroom already set up. Take a chance to look at this and we will talk about it in about 5 minutes. We want to give people time to come in. All right, so as everyone is entering in, I just want to give you some quick instructions on what you should be doing. So if you go to this link here, it says classroom design link. Remember that bit.lys are case sensitive. So you're going to go to this bit.ly link. Remember again, it's case sensitive. When you click on it, it's going to force you to make a copy. So you're going to make a copy of this and begin to work on your design for your classroom. So you want to show us how you are set up in your classroom right now, because we know that everyone doesn't have the same setup. It depends on your classroom. So we want to see what your setup is like, and then you want to start thinking about how you are going to use your setup to benefit you in this hybrid learning. So the next thing after you complete that portion, we want you to submit your design here. So on the top, oh, I don't have a picture anymore. Scroll down. See if I can scroll down. On the side over here at the top, you should see, it's like right above the desk. You should see something that says, click here to submit your design, and it'll be a Google form, and you're gonna submit the link to your design so that we can take a look at that. And we will begin to discuss that in about 3 more minutes. 3, okay? All right. 3 more minutes.
Where my what happened?
Good morning or afternoon again, everyone. So there are people still coming in. You will not be able to find this course in Canvas. This is how we are displaying it to you. So the instructions are just on the screen. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the bit.ly link in your browser and you'll complete the warm up there. So you should have, it's gonna force you to make a copy. You're going to make that copy. You're going to design your classroom the way it is set up for you right now. And then you'll begin to think about how you are going to use this design for your instruction for your face-to-face and HOL students. Once you complete that, you're going to click the submit button, which is at the top. It says click here to submit your design right above the desk on the right-hand side. Sorry, they had to remind me. Right above the desk on the right-hand side. And then it's going to bring up a Google form. You're going to take the link from your slide document from your Google Drive, and you're going to upload that link. Okay, so if we could raise our hand, and I have some students here in the classroom as well. So our question is, as you were designing your classroom, what were some things that you were considering in preparation for your instruction for all of your students at the same time, synchronous, face-to-face students and your HOL students? What did you have to think about when you were designing? Ms. McGammon, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, the location of the students being spaced apart, but also how they were going to be able to view my projector, as well as me standing in front of it without obstructing every student's view and everyone who is viewing virtually's view.
Exactly, and that's something that I have to keep thinking about as I'm walking around, because I have a camera here and I want to make sure that you can still see me if you're in the classroom, but also those who are on the board. Who are on Zoom. I have to remember that they can't see me pointing if they're looking at the shared screen. So I have to remember to grab this. So yes, those are great things to be thinking about. Miss Laura Chambly.
Hi. So I was thinking about the same thing, about having whatever presentation I'm using to teach shared on Zoom so that those students can have a good view of it, but also be able to stand where the students in my classroom can see me and the students on Zoom can see me. And I also thought of putting Zoom on my desktop and having the students kind of on the side on the smartboard so that they're visible to me, but they're also visible to the other students in the class. So they're more a part of the classroom and not just on a device off to the side to be forgotten.
Exactly. What about in the classroom? Is there anyone in here that had some things that they needed to think about when you were designing? That makes sense?
For in the classroom?
Yes.
I was EC resource teacher, so I was thinking about the behaviors and then just regarding the different students and their present performance, grade level performance, as well as the COVID-19 requirements, the view of instruction and emergency plans.
Yes. That is awesome. So what we're getting ready to do is don't forget to submit your designs to us. We know that you probably didn't get a chance to complete that during this short time that we had, but please, if you have a chance to submit your designs, because this is going to help us to help you whenever we're working with you in your schools.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. So you'll end up with some type of diagram like this by the time that you finish, when you think about where is my smartboard and how far apart will my students be, my small group section. So you'll have some type of finished product like this. So we're going to kind of model what synchronous instruction 5 days a week would look like. And we really appreciate schools letting us come out and teachers that we've strategized with, and we've kind of come back and we've tried to replicate these setups. Okay, so what we have here, right on but you see we brought in a smart board. Okay, and we are sharing the screen to our smart board from a desktop computer. So we have the desktop, our Chromebook, some of you may have an iPad, but we're using the same setup you have, the same, hold on, it'll come to me, document camera that you guys have, and we just played around with some setups. So one thing that we have noticed is that some of you, your computer is right beside the board. So it's very easy to just swivel this where they can see your face talking and as you're talking with the students. Okay, but not all of us have the beauty of having that here. So some of you guys, your smart board's up here, but your desk is not by that. So it's not easy to turn and see your desktop. So for that, which is what we're going to model today in the lesson, we've got our Chromebook, which is going to be driving this. However, no matter what you do, you still want to host your Zoom from your desktop computer and then join with your Chromebook. So you're still using two computers to help you as you're interacting with your students at home and the students online. So a little bit of our goals of trying to plan this is that you are going to have face-to-face students whenever that time comes, and you're going to have remote students. And we're trying to build a better plan B. So we want students to be able to interact with you and or their peers every day, but it is a huge goal not to have students on Zoom all day or all the time during your time slot. So we're going to explore some of those options and let you kind of experience that today. And then at the end of all this, our goal is that you and your students are successful. So as you start doing simulations of this or doing this with your students, when you hit those roadblocks, we're here to help you. But we've really tried to strategize and been out in the classrooms and seen what teachers have and really tried to replicate and think through this.
All right, so before we jump into our lesson, we want to take some time to cover some of these Zoom protocols for you. Now, depending on the device that you are using, you may or may not have some of the features that I go over now. Now, we know that if a student is using it, at the bottom is when I'll show you exactly what the students will see if they are updated. So that is the other thing. We want to remember to update our Zoom app and make sure your students are doing the same thing. When they ask them to update because new features will show up for them if they do that. So some of the tools that we are going to review today. Today, the main things that we will be using in our Zoom is the hand raise feature. We will use the mute and unmute features, and then we will also use the chat. That's what we will be using today. However, you know that there are several other features that you could use whenever you are in your classroom with your students. So this is what your toolbar looks like down here at the bottom. You know, you have your mute and unmute, which is at the bottom of your screen, the toolbar there. You have your webcam where you can turn that on and off. This is, if you click this is where you'll see the participants and where you'll be able to actually begin to raise your hand and begin to chat back and forth also. And then there's also a chat feature here. Now, you may not have this chat button here or this icon here if you are using a certain device. So some of the devices do not have it. The other thing we have that we will go over today is the chat feature. So the chat feature is here so that you can communicate. So there'll be times where your teacher tells you to say information in the chat or respond in the chat. And then there'll be other times where she'll ask you to unmute and mute. And you'll find that here. And if you are using a Chromebook, this is what you will see down here at the bottom. So now the other thing that some students may have the opportunity to do is to use reactions. So if you have the reactions button here on the side, You can ask your students questions like, hey, when we finally can all go outside and play again and go on a vacation, how are you gonna feel? How are you gonna feel? And then you can just start putting in some things in the chat. So let me see you put some reactions in there if you have that option. How are you gonna feel? Are you gonna feel like you wanna party? Yes, it's party time. Are you gonna be shocked? Are you gonna be laughing? Are you gonna be so happy and in love? What are you going to be feeling during this time? Well, we can finally go out and play. 'Cause I'm ready for a vacation, I promise. All right, and the last thing, you know, there's more you can do. So when your students are using this, when they click on the participant at the bottom, this is what they'll see. They'll see raise hand. They'll see raise hand. They'll see yes and no, go slower or go faster. If they click the more button right here, if they click this more button, these are the options that they will see. So they'll have the opportunity to give you a thumbs up, a thumbs down. So some of those reactions that they may have had on the up here with the reactions that they may not have, they will have them here. Okay, no, they don't have a party sign. No, they don't have a shock sign, but they do have the ability to thumbs up still, to thumbs down, to give you a hand clap or celebrate each other whenever they are doing presentations. Do we have any questions about this particular portion, our Zoom protocol that we will be using today? Before she jumps into her lesson.
So one thing that we did agree on as we were planning this is that it didn't matter which way that you taught or the order that you want to teach. We all thought protocols have to be taught. So even as we were talking to teachers, you know, they're practicing with their Zoom kids ahead of time to get them ready for what it'll look like when kids come back, or practicing your Zoom protocols. So like Shauna said, today we're going to do the raise hand, the thumbs up or thumbs down, the chat, the muting and unmuting. So those are things that we encourage practicing with your kids. And it's not just your remote kids. Like when you end up with kids in the classroom, those same hand signals, if you raise your hand on your Zoom participant chat, you also raise your hand in the classroom. So practicing some of those protocols to get everybody comfortable with this setting, we highly encourage. All right, so we are going to model, simulate, do a little drive run of a lesson. So we didn't want to make it stick with a standard, but I did want to kind of use a verb from the standard. So give me just a moment. So for this lesson, I'm going to quit interacting with our desktop. I'm going to drive everything so it is mirror to the smartboard, and I have the Chromebook here where I can see you guys and manage my kids at home. So I have kids in class and I have kids at home as we're going to start this lesson. Also a little disclaimer, this is not the first day we've talked about this. So class is starting now. I'm going to switch over to my headset. So all of these are available to you guys. It's nice how it's nice how it, you know, especially when you're having to wear a mask. So I'm gonna go beside my audio and switch real quick to my.
Can you guys hear me now? It helps if you turn these bad boys on. Okay, now we're ready to go. So what I have, I don't know if you can see, I just had these turned a little bit sideways so I can hear my face-to-face kids, but it's nice to have the microphone and your Bluetooth wireless. So your media coordinator should have this. Now I can roam around the classroom. I'm gonna now start checking in with you guys here on the Chromebook because this is what I'm using to manage my face-to-face kids. So yesterday, when you guys were doing your independent practice in Canvas, I'm gonna let this little picture right here help you. Can you remember what we were talking about yesterday at the end of class? If you can, in class, raise your hand, throw that in the chat for me at home. What were we talking about yesterday? Shauna, can you remember, does this picture help you? That is right. We started talking about Disney, and sometimes it is known as the most magic place on earth. So in the videos yesterday, when you guys were exploring and answering questions, you guys were able to see there are rides at Disney, there are shows, there is food, anything that you enjoy, you can find at Disney. I really think that's why it's called the most magical place on earth. So today you will be muting and unmuting yourself. So make sure I can go back and mute all of you guys, but we've been practicing this. And so after you call out and interact in class, make sure you mute back so I don't have to do that or remove that option to unmute yourself. So let's see who all did their work yesterday. If you can unmute yourself, and I want to hear you guys in class. What state is Disney in? Where do we find Disney World? Let me hear the state.
Florida.
There we go, Florida. Very good.
Florida.
Florida, Orlando.
Sunshine State.
Florida.
There we go. I'm back. Can you hear me now? All right. So you in class, I want you to hold up number of hands. You at home, throw it in the chat. I want to see how many parks are there. Let me see your answers in the chat. Who watched the video? Let me see your hands in class. How many parks? Not sure. There we go. There we go. I'm starting to see some right answers. Let me see you at home. There we go. We're pretty close. Oh yeah, plus a water park. So I guess that could be a little halvesy in there. So we ended yesterday talking about the names of the 4 parks. Remember, we're going to learn how to compare and contrast those. But before we do that, we need to learn the characteristics of those. So can I get someone to raise your hand and let me know what is one of the parks at Disney World? Someone in class, give me a park. Yes. Who? Yep. Thank you so much. We got an Animal Kingdom. Make sure you've got your note sheet out, taking down your characteristics. Remember, you will have to submit your note sheet in Canvas today. So make sure you are taking notes during this. Someone at home in the chat, tell me another part.
Epcot.
Epcot, yes. I also saw in the chat Magic Kingdom, and then again in class. Someone tell me the last park. Help them out, my friends at home. Help them out. Someone tell me the last park. Hollywood Studios. There it is. So as we go through our lesson today, you're going to add to your note sheet. You're going to be writing down the characteristics as we talk through each one of these parks. So our first park, Epcot. It's one of my favorites. You get to walk around to all of these countries. As you walk around this big pond, there's all these countries everywhere, and the food there, the food from all the countries. If you like space, it is definitely the place to be. And then they have a cute little thing with Crush that the kids can interact with, but the food there from all the countries, y'all, you just have to go. And it's just so pretty at night. So you see all the lights. Make sure if you're at Disney, you check it out. So the slogan at Epcot is travel around the globe, under the sea, into outer space, and beyond. So think of the pictures we were just looking at, and what are some characteristics of Epcot that could help you find it on the map? Let me see you at home in the chat. Oh yes, I see them at home saying the big ball. What do y'all agree with Epcot? The big ball, that is a characteristic that'll help you find Epcot. Okay. Have you ever been to Hollywood Studios? When you think about studios, think about animation and cinematography and this best ride, Tower of Terror. Let me let you guys see this video. There I am, right here in the red shirt. No, it's pretty amazing. But that's the video they made there for us. I see you guys. Yes, that ride will give you nightmares. So I did send my in-laws on it and I did not tell them what was going to happen. That was a classic, I'm telling you. So yes, Hollywood Studios animation, Mickey Mouse, the rides there. And if you are a Star Wars fan, you've got to visit. That is so, it's better at Disneyland. You're going to send me to California when this is all said and done. So Hollywood Studios, animation, Mickey, Tower of Terror, Star Wars. It's pretty awesome. So let's think of some of those characteristics and you guys help me find it on the map. Can I get someone in class? What could we look for Hollywood Studios? Yes, ma'am. The Tower of Terror. Can anyone at home tell me what the Tower of Terror is near? Tower of Terror. Try saying that really fast. What is that
Mickey
near?
Mouse's hat.
Mickey Mouse's hat right here. There we go. Tower of Terror, Mickey Mouse's hat. That is Hollywood Studios. All right, park number 3. We're going to head to Animal Kingdom. Magic of nature with rare animals and wild entertainment. It's like a zoo in this park with the best rides ever. I think it's Pandora. Oh, I can't even think with the Avatar. It's like you're riding on this thing's back and you can feel it breathing. You can feel the wings going. It is such a cool experience. It's like you're really there, water splashing you in the face, and the food and the rapids. And you're on this safari, you guys, where the animals come up right beside you. It is such a cool place to be. Yes, Pandora. Yes, thank you. So let's think of some of the characteristics of Animal Kingdom, you guys. Let me someone at home help me. What would we look for to find Animal Kingdom? Someone at home says the tree. What about in class? What do you think we need to look for Animal Kingdom? There we go. So we said the tree. Let me get something besides green. There's the tree. All these animals, the safari. That's a fun ride. If you go to Disney World, make sure you check out Animal Kingdom. I hope we got those characteristics. If not, you can check back in on this in Canvas when we finish. Okay, guys? And then the last park, Magic Kingdom. This may be one of my favorites. I don't know. Animal Kingdom is kind of a match, but you know, if you're a princess, and sometimes I feel like I am, guys, this is where to go. The parade where you get to see all your favorites growing up. The rides are fun. Even for kids, like this is a place that you can go for all ages. So Magic Kingdom, I think of princesses and the castle. You can even eat any meal during at the Beast Castle. It is such a fun place to go. So guys, help me with these last characteristics. What do you think of when you give me some characteristics of Magic Kingdom? Anyone here? Help them out at home, guys. The castle. There we go. The castle is just a dead giveaway for Magic Kingdom. Okay, so we have now talked about the 4 parks at Disney World. We've talked about a couple of characteristics. You guys are still going to need to explore a little bit, but we're going to do a quick think, pair, share. So in class, you guys are going to pair up with the people opposite of you. And you guys at home, I'm going to push you guys into breakout rooms. And when you get with your partners, or sometimes it may be a group of 3, figure out whose name starts first. So if Shanna, Abigail would go before Shanna. That's how you determine the order for who shares. What's your favorite park so far and why? You've got 3 minutes. I'm going to push you into breakout rooms. You guys head on to those breakout rooms. I'll call you back in 3 minutes. I'm going to mute these. Okay, people are coming on back in from their breakout rooms. They've got about 40 seconds to get back in here with us. Once you start coming back in, can you just let me know you can hear me in the chat, guys? Perfect, thank you. So while people are coming back in, I do also want you to know you can't, let me turn my Chromebook. So I know it's not great, but one thing I have gone back and forth. So sometimes I wanted the class to hear so I could turn on my smartboard speakers if I wanted the kids at class to hear you guys, or I could turn that off and you guys are just coming in my ear. So again, when I don't want to hear things at home, I have the mute all option to kind of help with some of that strategizing. So I think everybody, let me check, is back now. Do we have a question? Grace, do you have a question?
Yeah, so you had said about students, like you being able to turn the volume on with so that the class can hear the students that are online, but wouldn't you get feedback from listening to your own voice?
I didn't. So hold that. If you don't mind, we are going to go through some logistics to try to help with stuff like that. So if you keep those, and we will go through all those at the end. But no, but we've been doing it with Chromebook, desktop. I've even sometimes joined in on my phone so that I could see, and all that's been smooth. So if you are getting that static or some issues, we can help brainstorm through that. Okay, so can I get someone to share back out? Let me get someone at home. Tell me what your favorite park is so far and why. Someone raise their hand. Is that Louis?
Yes, I'm here.
Is that what you raising your hand to share out on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me, how are you doing?
Epcot will probably be my favorite because of the food. And then I like that you're allowing us to speak out. I teach kindergarten. And so a lot of the things is like, if you're at home, put it in the chat. And, they're not going to be able to independently do that. So I'm trying to be mindful of, constantly letting them actually voice an opinion and not just put it in the chat.
Yeah, so that is one awesome thing about getting you guys to come in my ear. It lets me facilitate that. So we will talk about like how that helps, almost like, when you're in a PD and you don't repeat all the questions, but there are some that you want to share to create that dialogue. I'm glad you guys are thinking about that. Okay, favorite park and why? Is that Chris, were you wanting to share on that? Or Loretta? I see Loretta too. Either one of you guys tell me favorite park and why.
One of the things that we talked about in my breakout, or that I talked about in my breakout room, I had mentioned liking Magic Kingdom and the Animal Kingdom because I have 2 toddlers, so seeing them get so excited is really exciting for me.
That's one of my favorites. I didn't get to go to Disney as a child, so I got to take my toddler when she was 2, like the fall before COVID, and it was the best seeing it through her eyes. All right, one more. Yes, so sorry. I'm glad someone said that. So I did pause share when I sent you guys to breakout rooms, and I didn't hit resume share. So thank you for guys letting me know. That's just like you said, things to think about going back and forth. There's that screen back. All right, one more person. Your favorite park and why? Let me get someone in class actually. No, Nicole, SeaWorld is not at Disney. No, she said Magic Kingdom, guys. Why is that your favorite? Guys, so she's saying she loves Tinkerbell, like the fireworks show where Tinkerbell flies. Absolutely. That's one of my favorites as well. So that is kind of our characteristics of Disney. So now you were going to go to your LMS. So I'm going to pause here for a second, kind of take the teacher hat off. Here's where you would send your kids to your LMS to do independent practice. So if it was Seesaw, I maybe use my document camera to show them where they're going in Seesaw and what's there for them to work through. Or if it was in Canvas, like we did this in Canvas, even though a slide deck would have worked fine, right? But it allows you to model where your kids are going. It kind of shows them, okay, this is where the learning happens. And then you can show them really quick where the activity is. Okay, so essentially you did your whole group and now you would get your independent practice assignment. Okay, so I'm going to pause this for a second because we're going to go back to the camera over here instead of the Chromebook camera. Okay. So I'm going to sit here actually so I can talk to you guys at home. All right, so can't see me, sorry. Oh yeah, the camera's pointing up. So when you're planning this through, so the lesson's over, you guys essentially just experienced whole group, and then now I would be releasing you to do independent practice. But actually what you guys experienced was a little bit of collaborations in there as well. So you guys did the whole group, and then I pushed you guys to a breakout room where you could kind of share something about yourself related to the content, and then I could release you for independent practice. So what this means is that you have a calendar of options. So for example, we did whole group and then releasing to the learning management system to do your independent practice. And then I would then work with the kids in class that day on that independent practice. And I encourage you to have some type of way for your remote kids to communicate you. So it could be a frequently asked question, discussion in Canvas that stays open. It could be email, it could be Go Guardian. However you communicate with your kids, you meet with them during whole group. That's the synchronous part that we just did. And then they go to their LMS, do that independent practice. Okay. And you do that, you get good at it. You practice that over and over so that your kids get used to coming in and leaving and get used to how that support looks. You can even add in a little bit of feedback on some of those assignments and get them re-interacting with those activities that you've put in Seesaw or Canvas. Right? So again, whole group, collaborations, and then release for independent practice. Right? You wouldn't want to add that collaboration though from the get-go. You're not ready for breakout rooms the first or second day maybe your kids meet, or you say like, yeah, my kids we've practiced breakout rooms during this remote setting, but you still have to kind of think about so when I was making my slide deck, I had really good instructions for my remote kids because that's the mindset I had been in. But then I had to go back and add prompts for my face-to-face kids so that we weren't all lost during the lesson. So I would still get everybody at home and face-to-face good and comfortable with whole group and releasing for independent practice. Then throw in some of your collaborations, but we can't forget small groups. Okay, that's such an important component in how your kids get support and intervention. So where does that fit in all of this? Think about when your kids are released to do that independent practice, then you can start pulling some small groups. And we're going to kind of simulate what that would look like with your virtual students. But we also want you to know that this isn't always have to be whole group first. If you prefer them to work on their assignments first, pull small groups first, and then you want to come together for the closure. That's why it's like a calendar of options, is what works for your lesson and where you are in that flow. So let's talk about small groups for a second. So you can do small groups with Zoom, which is what we're going to do today because everybody K-5 has it. But if you have Go Guardian and you're using that to monitor your kids, that's really going to be so big in managing this. So you can actually call your kids to come back for the small group time if you're worried that they can't come back. So essentially, when I think about something like this, that has to be communicated with kids. So it might be something like this, an agenda that is sent to them. And you can see like, all right, we're meeting at 8 o'clock for Zoom. And then we've got independent practice time. And then the second day, Tuesday, we're going to do small groups today. But when this gets posted on Monday, you may not know what all that looks like, right? You can just add these because it's posted like in Canvas. This is a live document. As you get more on your times and know what sequence is coming next, you start revealing that to kids. Or you may know you're going to do groups today, but until I get that closure, until I get that Google form feedback, I don't quite know what my groups are going to be yet. So this is a live document as you're planning the day, but it's just a way to communicate with your kids, what time to join for the whole group session, and if they're coming back for small group session. So what are the logistics like as you're planning all this? Nicole's going to come over and talk about some of the things that we plan through, that we talked to teachers about as we were preparing for this lesson. Lord, my group told me I needed to slow down. You guys need to experience that small groups. I am so sorry. So what this would look like, again, you have your whole group session, and then they are released for independent practice. But I know that these pre-K1 teachers, you guys don't have Go Guardian. So we're going to kind of pull you for a small group for a moment and talk to you guys about how this would look using the iPads and the program management system for you guys. So everyone else, my small group B, you've got 10 minutes to go do that Disney assignment. I'm just kidding. You don't have to really go do that, but you've got 10 minutes, kind of talk through this, get some questions ready for the end of this session so we can strategize with you. So 10 minutes, we're going to pull group A. The rest of you are going to come on for your small group in 10 minutes, which is 1:45. Now that doesn't mean start logging into Zoom at 1:45. That means we're back in place in 10 minutes. All right, so everybody who is a pre-K1 teacher or supports teacher with iPads, you guys stay on for your small group, please.
Hey there.
Hi.
Hello, guys. So, of course, when you are doing small group, did everybody know where they're going first? Let me say this before I go ahead and start. All right. So I should have pre-K and K and first grade teachers because you guys are going to stay on, okay? Because you guys are my iPad teachers. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Shayna, everybody else do what?
She said,
Where should the
yes. And you guys know what time to be back?
She said 1:45, but it's already.
Where are we going?
You're going to do your independent practice for 10 minutes, remember? So this would be the time you're going to your LMS, but this is just a simulation. So you guys get your thoughts together for questions.
Okay.
Come back in 10 minutes.
Okay, simulation.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got.
That's okay. That's okay. I know it's a lot. It's a lot. That's okay.
All right, guys. So I am going to share my screen. Normally you would have, you could have your teacher assistant. This would be good for them to pull a small group. And normally we wouldn't share a video, but Miss Nichols is our iPad specialist. And so I'm just filling in for her on today. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Normally you would not show a video, but I do want to let you guys know that you don't have Go Guardian. You have something called JAMP Teacher and JAMP School. Okay, so JAMP Teacher is what you guys can use to help manage the hybrid learners. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Let me see what I got here. All right, and then I should be in the email. Boom. All right, you guys can see my video, right? Uh-oh, wait a minute. Stop share. Okay, share sound. There it goes. All right, and then I'm gonna make it bigger.
I can see it.
All right, good.
Hi, I'm Karen from the Digital Teaching and Learning team. As we dive deeper into the hybrid learning model with our students, you may be thinking, how can I make this work with iPads? I want to share a little about a tool that comes with our management system called JAMP Teacher. If you are familiar with Apple Classroom and the ways devices can be managed using that app within your classroom, you will find JAMP Teacher complements it by allowing you to do similar things to keep students focused on their devices at home. It also has communication tools built in and the ability to push your Zoom link out to students so they can join with just one click. I want to share this short video clip explaining the lesson plan feature. Check this out.
JAMP School Teacher. Don't think of Lessons in JAMP School Teacher as a replacement for your current lesson plans. You're already doing amazing work on those. Think of Lessons more as a way to supplement your lesson plan by putting temporary restrictions on your students' devices so they can focus on the content you're teaching. For instance, maybe you're teaching a history lesson and you want your students' iPads to only have access to the Books app to read the case study, as well as a couple of web links in Safari that you'll reference in the lesson. Or maybe during a math lesson, you want to lock the iPads into a math learning app so that the students can do certain exercises. Let's take a look and create a lesson for Melanie's art class. From the homepage of the JAMP School Teacher app, tap Lessons. Then tap Create Lesson. First, we'll need to name it and give it a description. We'll call this lesson Defense Against the Dark Arts and Crafts, and enter a description to help Melanie remember what class this is for. Now we can build the experience for Melanie's students. If we tap Edit under Allowed Apps, we can choose which apps the students will be able to use while Melanie teaches the lesson. Melanie wants her students to be able to access the craft instructions online, so we'll need to allow the students to use Safari during the lesson. We can scroll down the list until we see Safari and tap it to make it an allowed app. The blue check mark indicates it's allowed. She also wants the students to be able to take pictures of their creations, so we'll scroll up and allow the camera app and the photos app. Finally, her students might need to request her help during the lesson, so we'll also allow the Jamf School student app so they can use the raise hand feature. We'll learn about that in a little bit. Once we've allowed everything we want, we can tap Create Lesson on the top left to go back to the main page for this lesson. Next, in the Lesson Links section, we can add websites that Melanie wants her students to be allowed to go to during the lesson. Melanie found a website she likes that has a bunch of magical craft tutorials for kids, and she wants that page to be available for her students. Let's tap Add Link. First, give it a title, and then paste the URL of the website into the URL field. Then tap Add Link. Now that we've added a link, we get 2 extra options. If we enable Lock in these websites, then students will only be able to navigate to the websites we've specified. If we enable Lock in Safari, that will force Safari to be open on the iPads and the students won't be able to use any other apps. Since we want the students to use other apps like the camera and photos, we'll leave this setting turned off. We could also enable or disable apps and websites by genre if we didn't want to get specific. If we were to disable the social media genre, students wouldn't be able to use the Facebook app or navigate to facebook.com in their browser. Finally, we can disable certain pieces of functionality on the student devices, like if we wanted to prevent them from using the AirDrop functionality. Once we're done, we can tap Save on the top right. Now Melanie has a lesson she can use alongside her lesson plan. And because sharing is caring, if another teacher in our school district really loves how Melanie set her lesson up, the lesson can be shared by tapping the Share button up on the top right. Lessons can be started in 2 ways. Right from the lessons tile, we can tap the lesson we want to start. Here, we just need to choose the length of time the restrictions in the lesson should last. You can always end the lesson early, but this will end the lesson just in case you forget, so that the restrictions don't last past their needed time. Then just select the class to apply the lesson to and tap Start on the top right. It will then display a screen showing you the status of each device. The second way to start a lesson...
This is just the beginning of what you can do with Jamf Teacher. Are you ready to learn more and start using this amazing resource? Sign up for one of the upcoming virtual PD sessions and see you soon.
All right, guys. So if you are looking, you can see that we have the opportunity to register for one of these settings. So like, again, I said, normally we would not show a video in small group, but I'm just saying that my assistant teacher is, in another room, Miss Nichols. And so that was her lesson to you guys. All right. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and register for our sessions on next week. So I am going to stop sharing my screen. And then the URL is bit.ly. And I'll show it in a few minutes. And it's Hoke, all caps, HOKEJAMF. All right. And then I'm going to go back, share my screen again. So that way you guys can see the registration form. Of course, this is showing up from my email address, but the 2 dates that are being offered are down here at the bottom. You have your Thursday and your Friday date. So there was a lot of things that Jamf Teacher can do. It reminds me of Apple Classroom. There's ability to put your students on the particular apps that they're going to use, that you guys are going to use for that class. If the camera is allowed and you don't want them playing on the camera all day, that's the day that, you may need to access, for them to access the camera and allow the camera rights, right? There is also, there were some things that you can do as far as setting up the same profile from class to class. Like I can share, one teacher can do it if she's used certain apps for a particular lesson and you don't want to start from scratch. You can share her template or her profile that she set up for her class, or you can share it to her and she can share it to you. You can use that, okay? And so go ahead and take a moment and type in bit.ly and then /, and you're going to do Hoke, HOKE, Jamf, all caps, And this takes you to this registration form. Once again, those dates are Thursday and Friday of next week. Good. And Jake has thrown it in the chat for you guys. So go ahead and register. This is only for my iPad using teachers. So for everybody else, you have Go Guardian for my Chromebook teachers, all right? And we've got 1 minute, and then we're gonna go back. So if you see everybody's back joining us, but we have 1 minute, and we're gonna get out of our small group and go back into our regular lesson.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this for the TAs to sign up, or will the homeroom
Somebody
teachers
asked a
sign up?
question, and I cannot hear you. Say it again.
Are the home? Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay, is this for the TAs to sign up or the homeroom teacher?
Yes, ma'am. TAs can't sign up because your teacher may use you to take a small group of children with iPads, and you may need to know how to work that. So go ahead and sign up and let Miss Nichols. Yeah, Miss Nichols will guide you.
Okay.
All right,
thank
it's
you.
1:55. We're going to get out of our small group, and make sure you sign up for that. And I will also have for everybody, I will have Anissa's code in the chat in a few minutes.
You hear me now, guys? Yes, there we are. All right, so as you go coming back in, that was kind of a small group simulation. So you can see why it is easier to start whole group and independent practice and get that down, right? And then work on communication as we're releasing kids to small groups. So some people's concerns are, my babies won't come back. They might not know how to come back. So that's where the JAMP teacher will be good to push out and call those kids back, or setting up your Go Guardian account. And there is on our YouTube channel, someone can throw that in there. Nicole has a video on using Go Guardian to call kids back who may not be so good at time management. Otherwise, we do have Zoom. Some teachers have already started using that for small groups, and they share the times and the kids jump back on and off. So a lot of options of how small group can still happen after kids are released to do their independent practice. So now it's time for logistics. I'm sorry I jumped ahead of myself there and didn't let y'all experience that first. But again, a lot of planning had to go through, and sharing the screen, sharing the audio, making sure everything's right, where our babies at home and our kids at in school can see. So a little bit of our thought process as we planned some of this for you guys to experience today.
All right, so right now we're going to talk about logistics. And so what we did was we went through and we kind of looked at what had to happen for every portion of the lesson. Yes, this was a snippet of a lesson, and so there were some choices that were made throughout the lesson that maybe if you were teaching the lesson, you may have done differently. But that's the awesome thing about your lesson, your classroom, that you kind of have an idea of what you want for your students. Maybe you can trust your students to always have the speaker on so that you can always hear them, but maybe you have a classroom with students that maybe you have to monitor a little bit more, so maybe you will use the headphones. So all of this is about logistics. What's best going to serve for my students and my classroom, because what Ms. Covington can do with her students may be different what Ms. Roberts or Ms. Ray or Ms. McKeithen or Mr. French can do in their classroom. So at the very beginning of the lesson right here, she had an activity where she asked everyone, the students face to face as well as online, about where Disney was at, right? So with that, she asked that the students that are online unmute themselves so that everybody could hear their responses. So with that being said, yes, we saw a question, I think, from Ms. Showers. She asked a question about she's having to go back and forth with Zoom and change these things. There is no easiest way to do it. That is what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to use our Mary Poppins bag and come up with all these tricks to do it. So there isn't an easy way, but that is the way to do so. So You don't have access to this Canvas, but on the next page, it has a list of resources. And we've created some video tutorials and some steps on how to do so. So for right now, I can't show you how to do it because we're using Zoom, but I am going to scroll down so that you can see.
Greetings. I'm going to walk you through how you can change the. I'm going to go. Greetings. I'm going to walk you through that I would like to share the camera. So right, I'm going to come over here. Okay. So and I'm going to click instead of right now where it's here. I'm going to pause it. I'm going down to where it says mute, and I'm determining from mute where I want the sound to come from. Right. So at that time, Ms. Roberts, she wanted everyone to hear, the online students and the face-to-face students to hear. So she had to come over here to her screen, and she had to change the audio. And so what she had to do is she had to make it so that the speaker, that the students online came through the speaker. It is about 2 clicks. It is something that you have to remember. And as you see throughout the actual lesson, you know, she had to come over here, she had to say, and she had to do this, because these are things that you're going to have to remember, because this is, you know, our new normal. But if you watch that video, and I'm not going to play it, I walk through how to do so, okay? So there's some other things. So right now, I'm having to erase the board because I know that I'm sharing the board and there's the ink layer, and that when I go to the next slide, it's going to be there. These are all logistics that are going to have to always, maybe have to type them out, write them out, but as you kind of continue walking through, you know, it'll happen. These are things that you're going to always have to be mindful of. So the next part of the lesson were protocols. So Ms. McKeithen kind of went over what were the protocols with Zoom. And even if you notice on Ms. Roberts' slide, she had icons, right? So those icons actually could be for the student, but it's also for her, because she knows that when I see that speaker, that I need to make sure that I change on the speaker on my Zoom so that all my students can hear each other, that they can interact, because I may not want them to interact all the time. But that icon also lets my students in my classroom know, okay, guys, when you see that speaker, my webcam is going to pick up all the sound in the whole classroom. So if Nicole likes to tap on the table, that might be okay if we're on my headphones, but it's not okay if the webcam is picking up the sound, because that's going to pick up everything. And we want to make sure that all the students can hear everything, right? So with that being said, that is a protocol that I'm going to have to teach my face-to-face students and my online students, right? I'm going to have to let them know, when you all see this, that means we have to be really quiet until it's your turn, because if not, if you whisper to your friend, then Michael or Billy or Lisa that's online, they won't be able to hear your classmates and their comments. So those are protocols that we're going to have to teach the students. But as I stated before, those icons really may be for the students, but they're also for the teacher to remind me, all right, Nicole, you're going to have to take it off the headphones and you're going to have to put it on speaker, because this is a time where I want the whole family to be able to hear each other. Also, protocol, the calendar. That's something else that's awesome for her. As she's creating this lesson or writing on her lesson plan, it's the idea that I need to figure out, what am I doing where? What is my schedule going to be? That is also logistics. That's also planning, because I need to know what time those kids need to come back. If I'm not using GoGuardian, even though I love GoGuardian, but maybe I'm not using GoGuardian. Maybe I don't have second graders. Maybe I have kindergartners and they have to physically come back. I need to know how I need to set up my schedule so that I maximize the time that the students are with me. That way I do not have my kids on Zoom for 3, 4, 5 hours throughout the whole day. And the last but not least, when we're talking about protocol, is collaboration and support. So some of us have ELL teachers that come in, we have support people that come in, teacher assistants. We have to create those schedules, because when Ms. Roberts pulls in, she's in there, she can help monitor the chat. So that way my pre-K students maybe cannot write or type, but she has the headsets on, and as they're asking questions, she can raise her hand or she can show me, so that way I know, hey, there's a valuable question out there. So that's also logistics. So that's why having a schedule or having a plan, a calendar is so vital, because there are so many things going on, and we want to make sure that all of our students are successful at all times. All right, the next thing is our ink layer, right? It seems simple writing on the board, but guys, it is not. When we started setting this up the first time, our ink, something was wrong with our smart board, the ink layer would not show up. If that does happen, please submit a work ticket through the Hope County's email, main page. Go to staff, click work ticket, because that is something that we need to, that someone needs to come out to actually fix. But that ink layer, but that's also something you have to remember. I can't point to the board, because if I point to the board, guess who can't see it? My online students. They don't know when I say right here, right? So that's something I have to remember, that I'm going to have to use my ink layer all the time. Guys, let's look at logistics. I'm going to have to circle what I'm talking about, because they cannot see me point. That webcam, as you see, it's kind of dark. It's like dark over here. We're also in like a building and not a classroom, but they cannot see exactly the board. Some of you all desk is so far away, you won't be able to see that little circle that Ms. Covington is doing on the board unless I'm sharing the screen. So that's something to remember. Also with the ink layer, I realized that when I move my board, guess what? That's there. So I'm gonna have to remind myself, Nicole, erase, what's your book? I'm gonna have to tell myself to do that, because if I don't tell myself to do that, then the kids online are confused. And then unless my kids raise my hand to remind me, they're gonna be confused as well. Okay, I know I'm going really fast. I do apologize. And last but not least was enabling video. This right here and sound is the biggest thing, right? Because as soon as we couldn't hear Ms. Roberts or Ms. Roberts couldn't hear you, it was like, let me stop and make sure, because something I'm saying is so valuable that's going to make sure that my students understand the content, right? So if I do want to show a video or a clip inside of my class, and I want both my online and my face-to-face students to be able to hear it, there's a little box in Zoom when you go to share your screen that if you don't remember to click it every time, then the kids online will hear no sound. There has been quite a couple times where we have had emails or teachers call us, and it is so easy to forget. Even when creating the instructional video, I forgot to click the box about clicking the box. So it does happen. However, once you get in the habit of doing so, it will become second nature. So I'm not going to play the whole video, but I am going to come here. And once you click it once for when you share the screen, it is automatically shared for the remainder of that time that you're sharing your screen. So I'm going to press play. I'm not about to have you guys watch this video, but it is going to show you.
Previous video, we talked about how you and online where my sound select whatever speaker. Okay. Right now, sound is now. So now my students to watch this video.
And yes, I said my name.
I'm going to click share to watch this video.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it here. You cannot see it as well. I do apologize. We're going to let it play for just
now. I'm going to
seconds.
click share screen.
Okay, freeze. Right here, and see, I just said right here. Right here is a little check, right? It's a box. It says share sound. You have to ensure that you select that, because if you don't select that, then the kids online will see the video, but they will not be able to hear the video. And we do not want any teacher video, any instructional video, any type of video that is going on in the classroom that is for the students not to hear, okay? Now, there are some other things that had to happen to ensure that logistically everything took place. But that's kind of the main thing that you're probably going to deal with on day-to-day throughout the lesson. Now I am going to go to the next page and I'm going to share with you a bit.ly. So I'm going to take a moment to stop talking so that you can copy down this bit.ly. This bit.ly is case sensitive, but please copy down that bit.ly because it goes through that and some other things, and it also has some instructional videos, some resources that are like technical. So if you're not a technical person, this is definitely a great resource. Some of you are already doing it. And so you may not need it, but for those of you that are not already doing it, please make sure that you copy down that bit.ly.